When I first landed in the Philippines, I didn't come with the excitement of a tourist or the comfort of someone prepared for adventure. I came with a single backpack, a tight budget, and a plan that everyone around me swore would end in disaster. I wasn't here to try famous resorts or take Instagram photos. I was here to do something people told me made absolutely no sense. To live as if I was completely broke in a country I barely knew. My friends laughed. My family warned me, and even I wasn't sure if I was being brave or stupid. You won't last a day, someone told me. But there was a question burning inside me that I couldn't ignore. A question every documentary and every social media post failed to answer. Are the people who have the least in life the ones who understand life the most? I had seen both sides. Online, the beaches that look like screensavers, and the small, crowded streets that outsiders label as poor. But I wanted to see which reality shaped the Filipino spirit. And that's why I stepped off that plane, not as a foreigner looking for comfort, but as someone willing to strip away every layer of privilege to understand what life truly feels like when you don't have anything extra. I didn't expect what happened next, because from the very first moment, I tried to blend in. From the first jeepney ride, the first cheap meal, the first night in a tiny rented room, realized this journey wasn't going to teach me what poverty looked like. It was going to teach me what the world had forgotten. And the moment that lesson began, nothing about the way I saw life would ever be the same again. Blending in wasn't as simple as wearing cheap clothes or avoiding English. Blending in meant letting go of every habit, every comfort, every mindset I had carried from home. The tiny room I rented wasn't the kind of place you see on travel vlogs. It was a dim, cramped space, tucked behind a noisy street, with a thin mattress, a flickering bulb, and a fan that sounded like it was fighting for its life. But I didn't come here to be comfortable. Came to understand how people lived when comfort wasn't guaranteed. So, I walked the streets without introducing myself, without hinting that I came from a country where things were easier, without letting anyone know that I had money tucked away, just in case I wanted to disappear into the rhythm of daily life. I joined long lines at Carinderias, ordering whatever I could afford that day. I squeezed into jeepneys, so full you could feel the heartbeat of the person beside you. I navigated wet markets where vendors shouted prices with the energy of people trying to make the day's earnings before sunset. And yet, something unexpected kept happening. People didn't look at me suspiciously. They didn't treat me like an outsider. In fact, the more I tried to blend in as someone who had nothing, the more people seemed to notice me in the warmest way possible. Mall nods, polite smiles, quick jokes, even a stranger offering directions before I asked for help. I thought staying quiet would make me invisible, but somehow it made people more welcoming. And the strangest part, not one person ever asked who I was, where I came from, or whether I belonged there. Instead, they treated me as if belonging wasn't something you earned, it was something you were automatically given just by being human. That was the first moment I realized this experiment was about to reveal something deeper than culture or lifestyle. I wasn't just blending in to understand their world. Their world was already opening itself to me quietly, effortlessly, and in ways I was completely unprepared for. Everywhere I went, kindness followed me like a shadow I didn't deserve. On my third morning, I was standing on a crowded corner, trying to figure out which jeepney went where, pretending like I knew what I was doing, when an elderly vendor looked up from her stall of vegetables and said, "Anak, you look lost. Come here." She didn't ask if I could pay. She didn't care where I was from. She simply opened a space beside her tiny stall, as if inviting me into a home she didn't even have. She gave me shade, offered me water, and even corrected my pronunciation of the jeepney signs with a laugh that felt like sunlight. Later that day, a tricycle driver noticed me hesitating and said, "Sake na, don't worry, I'll drop you." He drove me farther than the route required, yet refused extra payment, telling me, "Kung may, sobra, give it to someone who needs it more." I tried to keep my role, tried to stay silent, tried to blend in, But every act of kindness made that mission harder, because these weren't grand gestures, they were small. Everyday miracles offered with no expectation. I had come here trying to understand what poverty looked like. But the more people gave without knowing me, the more I realized I was the one who lacked something. The ability to give without calculation, to care without condition. And that was just the beginning. Then came the night. Everything shifted. The rain started slowly, tapping on rooftops like a warning. Then, within minutes, the sky opened up and the streets transformed into small rivers. My tiny room began leaking from 3 different corners, water dripping onto the floor, soaking my bag and my clothes. I stepped outside, hoping the rain would calm down, standing under the thin metal awning of a closed shop, shivering as the wind pushed cold water sideways. I expected to stay there alone for hours, but I wasn't alone for even 2 minutes. A family across the road saw me battling the rain, and without hesitation, the mother shouted, "Kuya dito ka, it's flooding there." I hesitated, not wanting to intrude, but she insisted, waving me in like I was one of her own children. Their house was small, barely big enough for their kids, who were already lying on mats. But they made space for me on the driest corner they had. The father handed me a towel. The mother gave me hot noodles. The kids looked at me like they had just gained a new sibling. We laughed, we talked, we ate. And for a moment, I forgot I was pretending to be Kai. Felt like I had stepped into a family that didn't know they had adopted me. And sitting there, surrounded by people who had so little but shared so freely, I realized something painful. Some people in wealthy countries would never open their doors to strangers. Yet here, in a tiny home with a leaking roof, generosity overflowed more than the rain outside. That night didn't just change how I saw the Philippines. It changed how I saw humanity. A few days later, I met the man who completed the lesson I didn't know I was searching for. His name was Lando, a jeepney driver whose vehicle looked like it had survived every storm since the 1980s. Every morning, I saw him waiting, wiping dust from the seats, adjusting mirrors that refused to stay in place, smiling as if he wasn't working a job that demanded everything from him. One morning, I finally rode with him. The jeepney was noisy, shaky, and packed, but every passenger greeted him like an old friend. When the jeepney broke down, no one got angry. Instead, 2 young men jumped off and helped push without being asked. When I asked him later if he ever wished for a different life, he looked at me with a calmness I didn't expect and said, "Of course, life is hard. But hard is not the same as empty. I have my kids. I have my wife. I have people who help me, and people I help. Some rich people have money, but nobody who would push for them when they break down." That line didn't just hit. MIT stayed inside me. I realized this entire journey wasn't showing me material poverty. It was showing me emotional wealth, the kind of wealth you can't buy, the kind of wealth people in rich countries spend years trying to find. And if you're still watching right now, you're about to see why this story doesn't end here. Because what happens next will change everything you think you know about what it means to be rich in life. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next part of this journey will open your eyes in a way you'll never forget.